Hey guys, welcome back to another video here. Just going through the Season 10 patch notes that were posted today. It's Saturday, so typically in the past when they post these patch notes, they will do some bug fixing and maybe revert some stuff that they can't fix if it causes a huge bug to occur. They're not going to add new content after this phase for this season. Typically, I mean, it could happen, but last 9 times it hasn't. So let's go through the patch notes together. And I already went through them, and I'll be honest, there's not that much stuff here in terms of new content or new builds to look at or really test. There are some things that are shaking up the economy probably in the game. There's a lot of quality of life and just general software changes that are going to be better for the game in the long term, which is good. We don't always need new content. There is a new Ubers fight, which they still haven't disclosed any information in the patch notes. I'm still waiting on my beta access key for the closed beta. But yeah, let's go through this. So, big thing, allocated loot. So, I don't play in groups, but some people do. Basically, what it used to happen was stuff would drop, and then you'd roll it off, and whoever won the roll would get it, like it is in WoW. But that was just player driven. There was no actual mediator in the game to hand out the loot or whatever. So, allocated loot is their solution to this. It'll be interesting to see how it works. I'll probably try it with a friend, but I don't typically farm with 8 people in games. I just do solo farming. Maybe I will try playing with groups now because my, you know, hesitation against that is if something drops, I want it, right? And the difference between players 5 loot when you're playing alone and players 8 loot when you're playing with 8 people is not much. So we'll check it out. But basically, there's some things here like runes, worldstone shards, all this stuff. Basically, when it drops, party members must be within 2 screens of the monster to be eligible for the allocated loot. And it will distribute it randomly. So if you see something on the ground, it means it's yours. You get to keep it, is what I understand from this, which is cool. But it would also mean that you rarely see stuff when you're playing, and other people will get stuff. So I don't know. It's definitely great. They need to go in that direction if they want a group play to be a thing. So I'm happy to see that. That's a huge, huge different thing compared to Diablo 2 in itself. So that's amazing. There's these home commands they've added. So basically, you can set your home channel when you log in, and that's cool. So you can look at trade or whatever in the game. You can also set no XP, so you can like twink yourself, right? So cap yourself at like level 9 or whatever, 29, to do like low level duels. That's cool. I'm not into that, but I'm glad it exists. Set home in game is cool. So this is a great quality of life thing. So if you're farming Trav, right, and you exit the game in Act 3 and you remake a new game, you will start at the spawn location in Act 3, which is, as you know, if you play this game, quite a long walk to get to the waypoint so that you can go back to Trav or do anything in Act 3 for that matter. So you can set your home now to be Act 1 or Act 5, where the waypoint is like pretty much right beside where you spawn. And that's just going to be less tedious when you're playing the game. I love this change. This is amazing. I'll probably always set my home to Act 1 just because I love Act 1 the most. I love that change. I think that's amazing. They've done some changes with some tooltips here, blah, blah, blah. Some other stuff's going to stack. So this one's an interesting one. This is a nerf to low-level content. So melee splash on normal items. And by normal, they mean normal compared to elite and exceptional items, right? The splash is just less effective. So when you're lower level, the splash isn't going to be as good. And when you get an exceptional weapon or an elite weapon, you're going to feel a big difference as a melee character. So that's kind of interesting. I like that. I think the game is a little too easy, so that's a good change. They now have like equipment locking, so you can no longer like, if you choose to lock your equipment, you can't like accidentally socket something you're wearing or drop something on the ground right before you leave the game and then the game's gone, that type of issue, if you're going to lock your equipment. So that's cool. You can also lock the Merc, which is nice. Another huge gameplay change is poison and open wounds. It used to be, if you're in the game and you're alone, your poison from your character, and let's say also from poison creeper or from your mercenary, I think only one poison or open wounds would work. Now they stack. They count as separate entities. So your merc can have open wounds, and you can have open wounds, and you can have a blood golem with open wounds, and those will all stack and do their damage independently, rather than before, I believe it was the highest instance or application of open wounds would be the one that applies. So this is a huge buff to any build that uses poison or open wounds. And yeah, just really good. Another huge thing here is the range penalty on open wounds is now removed. I don't remember what it was. I think it was 50% or maybe even 25%. But basically, melee open wounds is really strong, and ranged open wounds not so good. But now they're the same. Pest drop rate is increased, and curse resistance is increased, which is cool. This corrupted zone thing is whatever. It's just probably peace of mind for them. There's way less zones now. It's still a fuck ton of zones, which is fine. There's no big deal. I like this change here. Abaddon and Pit. I've never, these like little red portals you find in Act 5, I've never farmed these before, and now they're almost double the size. So that's cool. Maybe there'll be something you want to farm now. So something new to do. They moved some settings around, which is nice. They've added some more functionality to the loot filter, fixed some bugs with it. Also fixed some bugs with the graphics, which is also great, I'm not going to go through that stuff. Filter Bird is something I've used when I made my own filter. It's a little program that basically it'll display what your item filter will do when you drop a specific item. So you can now test out filters in the launcher. You could always do this by going to the website or downloading the offline version of Filterbird and just running it yourself locally. And, taking someone's filter and manually, so it was tedious. You could do it. You could always test it. But now it's right there in the launcher, which is great. That's going to really help new players and people who aren't really as savvy with that stuff to figure out a loot filter that they like. They've added 2 new maps, which is really cool. I'm interested to see these. They sound cool, and I like that they're Tier 2 maps. There's no map shuffle this time. Last season, they shuffled a bunch of maps around, so it's nice that it's the same as before. This is cool. I think they need to do more with this. The Horizon event, that's the one where the summoner shows up, and he opens up a second map. I always hated this one because you never want to do it. And there's no real benefit to doing it because maps are so plentiful. But now, at least the second map that gets created, you won't have any immunity issues. So that was an issue, right? Like, let's say you're running a build that just does fire damage, and then your Horizon event makes a map with, things that are immune to fire. Well, great, you can't even do it. So this is at least a step in the right direction, but I still think they need to do more with this. There were a lot of nerfs to the mercenaries. All of them pretty much have had their damage nerfed, except for the Act 4. The Act 4 mercs, which don't get seen a lot, they're the casters, the new ones. They've been buffed, and they've got replenished life now. So probably going to live more and do more damage and be more useful. Here's the mention of the new Ubers thing, but no information on it and what it drops. So that's cool. Maybe there's some hidden stuff where, maybe these Ubers drop new items. So they have to do something, right? What's the point? So, yeah, there's obviously stuff missing out of here that will be revealed as we get into the season, which I like. I like surprises. There's some PvP stuff there. I'm not going to talk about that. let's go over class changes, okay? So Amazon, basically all the elemental skills were nerfed. Immolation aura or arrow was buffed slightly for its damage over time, but the instant damage was nerfed, so it's kind of the same. Multi-shot's getting some love, so now the middle 3 arrows will proc things instead of just the middle 2. So that's nice. It's slightly better enhanced damage per level, so it's a little bit of a nerf, or a little bit of a buff, so that they know that multi-shot. You know, I got an argument with some people on the forums. Physical multi-shot is just not very good. I'm not going to get into why it's not good. Like it's just not as good as other stuff, and these patch notes are reflecting that, right? We're seeing the cold and fire arrow take a hit, and yeah, strafe is getting buffed too. So it's not just multi-shot; it's all the physicals on builds. They're just assassin. So with assassin, they have some new stuff with Blades of Ice and Claws of Thunder. So I want to check those out to see how they look. They could be good. They could be whatever. We'll see. But basically, the charged attacks have changed, and they've shuffled around some of the synergies. So maybe they're better to get. Psychic Hammer got a buff. It's still not going to be used. Mind Blast got a buff. Mind Blast has always done good damage, but it was like a small AoE. So now it's going to go up in size on consecutive hits. So I really like that change. Fade was nerfed. The PDR was way too high before. I'm glad they nerfed it. Yeah. Really not that much going on with Assassin. Barb, same thing. The biggest thing here for Barb is the whirlwind bug fixes. So this is going to be a huge buff if you're using items with long range. So if you're just using short items, it's not going to be any different than before. But if you're using a pike or two-headed sword, they have longer ranges. And before they weren't actually hitting outside the range of 2, but now they are. So that's a really good change. It's going to feel a lot better. And it prioritizing closest to enemies is going to feel a lot better too. So it's just going to play better, which is always good. I love changes that make things play better rather than just mess around with the numbers. The other cool thing for Barb is, they made ranged mastery. Instead of throwing mastery, it's now ranged mastery, which includes bows and crossbows. They made a little cheeky note here about meme users, so we'll have to try out some meme builds for the Barb this season. All of the bad abilities that Barbs have, like double swing, concentrate, like all this shit that's just like boring, go up and right click, nothing really happens. They've all been buffed in their damage output and their attack rating. So that's good to see, because the problem with it, like if something's boring and also bad, you're never going to do it, right? But if it's boring and powerful, then yeah, you might do it. That's another problem that they need to fix, I think, with the Barb skill tree. But at least it's getting buffed in damage. Battle cry duration going up is really sweet. I really like that. Druids got some interesting shuffles here with their synergies. Mainly summon druids. So their synergies have been changed around, but a lot of their scaling's been reduced. So there's been some nerfs, but also the synergies changed. So it might actually even out or be better. I'll have to look at the tree itself to determine that. Shockwave got some buffs. Shockwave's just a weird skill. So that's cool. I don't really like druids that much, so I'm not too hot on these. Like Hunger here, Deadly Strike changed to Open Wounds instead, so I don't know if that's good or bad, or people are happy about that. Fireclaw was buffed, and they nerfed all the spirits and vines. They can now be hit by AoE stuff, so they're going to be dying more often. Necros, there's nothing here except Bone Spear's hitbox being increased, so that's really good change. Bone Spear's going to hit more of the screen now. Won't be so narrow. And also, they nerfed Blood Golem synergies, because probably having 5 Blood Golems with bleeding stacking with all 5 on a single target is insane. So I'd like to try that out for For Ubers, it's probably nuts. We'll see. It's probably no good for mapping still, but on single target, yeah. So Paladin, my favorite class, as we all know. Smite's being reworked to, well, not really reworked, I'd say, but what it used to do, which was apply crushing blows without ever missing, 100% of the time, like that was what Smite always was good for, and now it's just gonna be better at that. It's gonna have more crushing blow damage compared to other stuff, and it's gonna have like native crushing blow, and also the enhanced damage was tuned up, and all the Smite damages on shields were increased or normalized or fixed. I haven't really looked at them yet, but they were in a previous mention. So we'll check the Paladin shields out once we get access. Charge, it just says they fixed a bunch of bugs and improved functionality. They say that every season, so we'll see how that feels. A big nerf to Charge, however, is that it now uses increased attack speed for its hit frames. Before it was a standard, well, not standard, but it was basically extremely fast, and there was only one way to increase it, which was with velocity items, and it just wasn't worth doing that for the minor attack speed bonus. Now it's just like a regular attack, like every other melee attack. So you're going to need increased attack speed to hit the max breakpoint now for Charge. So this is a nerf. But what it really means is that we're just going to use Fanaticism instead of Might, because we're not going to itemize for attack speed. So you're more like a Zealer now than before, which I think is stupid. I liked how Charge was a separate thing from Zeal, and it made the itemization different. Now basically Charge and Zeal have the same itemization, and I just don't agree with that. I don't think it's a good idea to take away variety for no reason. Okay, and they buffed Zeal a little bit too, which is okay. Vengeance. This is a weird line. I read this a few times. So it says synergies now apply to both flat elemental damage from items, as well as applying to the flat skill damage. So it sounds like to me you know how Vengeance carries your elemental damage and buffs it? So now the synergies for Vengeance will increase that buffing of elemental damage from your weapons, which it didn't do before. So that's a huge buff, if so, because a lot of the damage from Vengeance is from elemental damage on your weapons and your armor and charms and stuff. So that might be a huge buff. They also increased the max chain chance, which you rarely ever hit. And the base is buffed as well, so that's cool. Holy Sword got a nerf to the damage, but it's more quality of life now, because you can Holy Sword while you're using your weapon swap, where you've got probably a call to arms and a lidless, so you can get a much more powerful Holy Sword, because before you had to just Holy Sword afterwards. Holy Bolt's up 1%, great. Sanctuary is getting some love, so the radius is increased. I'd like to see that. And 3% buff to its synergies, basically. Thorns is a new way they're trying to. I like this. I like how they're looking at Thorns now. It's probably the last aura that Paladins are gonna get like any adjustments to. And basically now Thorns works just like an offensive aura, as it should. It's in the offensive aura tree, so it's gonna give you open wounds damage, and that'll apply to your attacks. So that's really cool. I'd like to see how much it is. Also, when your Thorns triggers, it's going to apply open wounds damage to the target as well. So that's really cool. Conviction, whatever, and yeah. Nothing really else. Sorceress, minorest of buffs to Blizzard there, with a 1/10 of a second on the cooldown reduced. Teleport, I don't really play Sork. I don't know if that's going to change things. Little quality of life for energy shield. And the cool thing, Blaze. So Blaze is the thing that makes you have a trail of fire when you're walking. You can get those from Inferno Striders, which are unique boots that really have no purpose in the game. But now Blaze, it removes, it gives you cannot be frozen. They did that last season or 2 seasons ago, which is great. And so those boots now have a chance on being hit to trigger blaze. And so when it triggers, it does a little AoE of damage, first of all, and then it leaves a trail behind you that'll do damage. It gives you cannot be frozen, and now it gives you phasing, like in in a MOBA where you ignore unit collision and you can just walk through things. This is awesome. This makes Inferno Strides like they're going to be expensive. They're going to be like an actual item instead of just something you sell to Charcy. So love that change. Huge change to corruptions. I think this is the biggest change of the whole patch notes. I'm going to be real honest with you guys. So, oh, sorry about that. I just dropped a part of my desk. But anyways, yeah, so sockets. Basically, the minimum sockets now that can roll on one-handers weapons is 2 instead of 1. And the max is 4, like before. And on two-handed weapons, the minimum you can roll is 3 sockets. So if you get a grandfather that's ethereal, and you roll the sockets corruption, the minimum you're going to get is 3, which is great. Because, yeah, it's fucking amazing. I love this change. Also, the chance of getting 6 sockets is now 5.5%, whereas before it was 2%. So that's more than double the chance of it occurring now. Basically, what this means is that there's going to be more items with sockets in them on the market. It's going to be easier to get max socket rolls on weapons, and the price of those weapons will go down because there's just going to be more of them. So I like that. And I also like that if you roll, like before you used to be able to get 1 socket, it felt really bad, right? Because you could get 1 socket from just Lazarusing it with the hammer. So it just felt really bad when that happened. No longer like that. They also changed a couple of other things here. Basically, all of the corruptions across the board are getting little buffs. So that's good. They're changing also the frames for crossbows. So crossbows are going to be a little slower than bows still, but not as slow as in vanilla, which is great. We've got some new items. Let's look at these new items together. So Titan's Grip, I don't really like. This is just for things that aren't paladins. Faster block rate, increased chance of blocking, great. Whatever. It's also got half freeze duration on it, so that's nice. Compare that up with something else to get full, cannot be frozen. They're cool. I like the art. It looks nice. It looks like Diablo 2 art. I'm really happy with anytime they add any new items to the game. I really got to give them credit. The new art they're adding, it just looks like it could have just been in the game originally, which is really cool. So these are for sorceresses and necros and druids and stuff, not for paladins or barbs or anything. Wraith skin. First time I read this, I was like, this is fucking horrible. Like, who would ever, like, whatever, 10%. But I didn't read it right. It actually says 10% maximum deadly strike. So deadly strike used to cap at 75%. You throw this on, now it caps at 85%. So there's a couple other items that we'll go through. I think there's one more that gives 5%. So you could get up to 90% deadly strike. I don't know if anyone will do that, but it's neat. So it's kind of like adding, more than just deadly strike. It's deadly strike to the cap. So of course it doesn't give you 10% deadly strike. It just increases. Well, actually, maybe it does give you actually 10% deadly strike, and that deadly strike can be applied above 75. I have to see. That would be something to test. And attack speed. So before, the only armor with attack speeds were like Crowcaw, which was 15, which got buffed to 20, and then Twitch Throw, which was like a really bad armor that really you just tried to get 4 sockets in. If you needed your IAS on a chest, that's what you did. So this is now a way better version or way better option because you get curse resistance, blah, blah, blah. The minus 10 max life might be a little hefty, but I see what they're doing here. It's on theme with this deadly strike. Twilight's Reflection is really cool. So Cloak of Shadows is a really good effect. It's just like nobody uses it because it's not worth using it, but if it happens, it's great. It lowers enemies' defenses, and it lowers their chance to see, or their vision. So that's nice. That's gonna be really cool. I don't think paladins will use this. Maybe because of the 10% physical pierce, but I doubt it. Yeah, this is cool. This is for assassins for sure. They're gonna love this. It's also gonna be good for necromancers who are running. Never mind. It's not gonna be good for anyone else. It's cool. All right, it's cool. It's not that great. Dead Mother. People are very split about this because it says right here, you no longer summon any wolves, but you get 2 more grizzlies. I don't really know if that makes a difference. I don't play summon druids, and they're not really that good anyway. So you do get 5 to grizzly on your helm with this, with 3 sockets guaranteed. Or I guess not guaranteed. It can roll 1 to 3. I think it's a weird item. I don't know if anyone will use it. Ebon Bane. So this is clearly for summons on. So you're getting 4 to passive magic skills. The weakened when being struck is nice. Because you really get struck sometimes when you're playing support or summons on. I don't know. It does have high damage for a bow. I mean, not high, but it's not low. It can get up to 5 passive and magic skills, I'm just seeing now. So that's pretty good. The other stats are just bad, I think. Shatterblade. This one I like. It doesn't look like it, but this thing does a lot of damage. 180 to 225 damage. And that's not even with the perfect roll on ED. That's really good for a one-hander. Very good, in fact. So this is a physical damage dealing weapon. It's good. The real problem here is that it's a dagger. The frames for daggers are not good. And also it can probably only get 2 sockets, which is not good either if you slam it. It does have Deadly Strike as an auto mod. It's got freezes target. It's got this cold pierce, right? 2 to cold skills. So I'm thinking, if you're playing the cold druid, the cold paladin, and you get this ice barrage on kill, I don't know. It could be good. Also could be good for a meme build. For sorceresses, you could max all the synergies for ice barrage, and then zeal with this. That would be really sweet. You also get the ice blast. So this is really, I'm gonna try this out with the Sork. Let's see how that goes. I've always had problems with that because the blocking sucks and you just die. But now we have all these blocking supporting items. So imagine I wish the next item here was not a paladin shield. I really wish it wasn't. I wish this was a Sork could wear this. Because you could totally wear this with the Shatter Blade, and off you go, right? You just max the synergies for those abilities, and you don't actually cast them. You just zeal. I don't know. That would have been nice, but nevertheless, Dragon Scale is a shield they've really tried to make work every season. It seems like they've made changes to it, but they've never really found anything that's stuck. I think the last iteration it had like plus 40 to Hydra O skill or something crazy, and it still sucked. Like, it's just not good because Hydras are not good without synergies or without the fire mastery that Sorks get. So I still think this is bad. It's not going to be something that is a build you'd build around as a paladin, because let's face it, only paladins can wear this shield, right? So yes, blocking's great, and it's great summoning Hydras, but if they don't do any damage, who cares? That's my gripe with this. And it's not a new build for another class because it's just for paladins. Now, if they were to wear the Trang set and get all the O skills for the synergies, that's something I want to test. I have this crazy idea that, you know how you're wearing Trangs, you get some Sork O skills, right? I'm not sure off the top of my head, but maybe some of them are synergies for Hydra, and maybe that will buff the Hydras, and then maybe that would be cool. That would be a different way to play. The other stuff on here is no good. You know, it's just fire damage, fire skill damage. This could be used by a Vengeance Paladin because it's a lot of fire damage. But whatever. It does have 20% PDR, which is cool, but yeah, it's just not seeing it, not seeing it, guys. Then there's some minor changes to all these other items here. So I went through the list already. The ones that are cool to me are this. So Hawkmail is like a normal armor that you don't never use. It now has O skills to Raven. So I don't know. Maybe something there, but probably not. Venom Ward was nerfed. I didn't know it needed to be nerfed, but okay. Heavenly Garb, the level 1 aura now can be 2 to 4. Okay, great. Not a big change, but better than level 1. Yeah. Yeah, the Crow Claw, I already went over this. It got 5% IAS, and the Pierce no longer rolls. So, I don't know, maybe something you'd use now. A lot of things just got buffed. Some things were nerfed, like the mana on kill on Cohegans here. Interesting. All of the declone items that you can't get except from Ubers there, they got nerfed. So Dark Abyss is the body armor with 50% FCR. It's no longer $2 skills. It's just 1. So that's kind of like, ooh, rip. Another thing here, Corpseborn, it's now plus 40 to Corpse Explosion O skill. Still don't think anyone's going to use that. Don't think anyone wants that. But anyways, we're getting it. Yeah, some changes to block values. A lot of these offhands, these shields for Necros they're getting buffed, kind of quite a bit. So interesting to see how that will shape out. Vampk's got some big buffs across the board. It's just way better. I think it got nerfed a couple seasons back, and now they're bringing it back. So whatever. Big change here on Andes. No longer 20% IAS. It's 30. So this is big. That's a huge change. Andes were already expensive, but now probably pretty good. The variants on Nightwing's Veil changed. So they're not going to be as crazy expensive if you get a 15%. Crown of Ages no longer have 1 socket. That's great. What else was in here that looked interesting? Oh, yeah, here's another declone item that got nerfed. So it's just minus 10% physical resistance instead of up to 15. That's a big nerf. Drax can now roll 30 strength, which is going to be really helpful for your mercs to hit their strength requirements for some gear. Hotspurs were nerfed. Treads of Scython were like normalized at 20% pierce, which is cool. Here's one that's really big. Gore Riders can now roll 15 to 20% deadly strike. So this makes a change in Gore Riders because before they were just static. Basically nothing was on there that would be different. If you had Gore Riders, they were Gore Riders. You didn't have to worry about, oh, they're perfect. But now, perfect Gore Riders, 20%. Those are going to be very pricey, which I like. They've nerfed arachnids. It now ranges more from 10 to 20%. It used to be like this. So this is a revamped back to how it used to be. Yeah, it feels real bad when you get a 10% arachnids. But it's stupid because it's either a 20% or it's a nothing percent. Nobody cares about anything below 20. So it's either perfect or it's not still. So I really don't know how much that'll change. Band of Skulls is the declone belt, or maybe from Rathma. It got nerfed too. Crescent Moon is always 2 to cold skills, which is neat. Cat's Eye is buffed 10% IAS. Hellslayer, which is a big stupid axe, now has some very big enemy pierce, fire pierce. Death Cleaver is another item with that new mod, max deadly strike chance. Same with Head Striker. Bone Slayer Blade. So this is cool. So what I don't like is I wish it was a sword, or I wish Holy Sword worked with any two-handed weapon, not just swords. But basically, yeah, look at that. 20% chance to cast level 30 Holy Bolt on striking. So that'll be a build I want to try out. It's probably shit, but I'm going to try it anyways. You max the synergies for Holy Bolt. And you Zeal or something with this big stupid axe. The O skills were increased a bit for Zeal, which no one ever used. Mage Slayer no longer is Concentration Aura. That's a huge hit. Those used to be like Gull Rune for level 6 one, and people needed them all the time because their Iron Golems would die a lot. Wind Force got some very big buffs here. 15 more dex, and the max damage per level was increased by like 50% almost. So that's great. Another huge change here that's interesting is Infinity. So this 50% chance to cast Lightning on kill is now on striking. And it's Chain Lightning, which makes it better. That's really good if you're going to use that as a weapon, but also mercs now are going to do more damage. Big nerf to Innocence. We went over this earlier in the channel. Innocence is not going to attack slower with the blade shield. Couple new rune words. So Rapture is very expensive. Vex, Ja, Lo, Ral, Ko, Mal. That's like 3 or 3 and a bit HR, and it's only in hammers. So hopefully people update their loot filters to show us 6-socketed hammers, because I don't think a lot of them did before. Very cool. It's basically just for druids that are going to max fissure synergies, and then go as a wolf and zeal or whatever it's called. That's going to be awesome. It's going to do a lot of fucking damage. Level 35 lower resist is really strong, and it's 30% chance to do it. So this is just a really good item now for druids. It's also got ignores target defense and deadly strike. Yeah, a very nice weapon. I do like that. Purity is a low level crossbow. However, it gives us Prayer Aura. So Prayer Aura previously was only available from paladins or from the Act 3 mercenaries. Prayer is friggin' great in this because it gives you life on hit, which doesn't get reduced in hell. So this actually might be really good for Act 1 mercs to get that life back. All of the sets basically got buffed. The low-level sets I don't really look at, but nothing that big of a deal here. Mavina's was nerfed a lot. You're losing 10% fire and cold skill damage. IK was buffed. Griswold's is the same basically if you have the full set, but if you don't, now it's like just native. That's kind of it. They also added a little thing here in the, you no longer need two launchers to do the beta. It's just there. Yeah, so that's the patch notes. Like I said, kind of underwhelming. Nothing too crazy sticking out at me. A lot of great little things. They all add up. I'm going to hopefully get a closed beta access soon and go in there and test some stuff out. A lot of the stuff I mentioned I'll probably test. I'll make some videos on it if it's maybe this time around I'll make like one video and include all these meme things that are things I wanted to test out. Hey, look, someone else is highlighting something. Yeah, cool. Anyways, so new season 10 coming soon. I think October 25th is when it's officially here, which is in 2 weeks. So yeah, hope to see you guys there.